What's going on, people? Happy New Year, everyone. We're back again today for another video. Going to be kicking off the start of our weekly market reviews where we take a look at some of the coins chosen by yourself. As always, before we get started, all views and opinions expressed in our videos are educational purposes only and should not be considered as financial advice. So let's go ahead and jump straight into the first coin we're going to be having a look at today, which is BTC USD. If it comes up, yeah, there we go. So we're going to be starting off from a weekly chart and then working our way down. As you can see on a weekly chart, you can see price has been in consolidation for a couple of weeks since the breakdown, these levels here. And as you can see, the breakdown of this previous low here. So we're looking at around about 7,500, 7,600 levels. Since we've broken down from there, we can see price has reached down into these levels here, which is pretty much the 65, 6,600 zone. Just wanted to touch on this as it's an interesting price area. Just get rid of that indicator first of all. It's going to annoy me, the price line that goes on the side. In fact, I'll leave it so you guys can see what price at the time the video was made. So if you have a look, moving over to the left, we can see that price is pretty much revisited this area for the first time in over a year. Interesting area for several reasons. First of all, it's the first area before the breakdown here into the lows of 2019. And also this area really hasn't been revisited since we broke through around about 6 to 7 months ago. So one thing I wanted to mention here, this candle stood out here, the weekly candle on the 15th of October. This is what's known as a bullish breaker. If you guys are not aware of this, basically the mechanism of this is how it works is you look for the up candle before a breakdown in price, and then you want to see how price reacts when it returns to that range after it's broken through. So basically a support or a test of that range. So as we can see, the opening on this candle is 6,300, the high is 6,924, and as we can see, price dipped into this level a few times. The low here on this candle was 66.27, and that was then broken with a new low at 65.45. So we've pretty much been testing the mean range of this candle. So the mean range will probably be about 6,600. One thing I want to keep an eye on is how price now reacts to this range, whether we break out or break down, and also if we have a touch of the body here, which is 6,300. So yeah, just something to keep an eye on. Moving forward, let's have a bit more of a detailed look. I mean, as we mentioned, there's no clear short-term direction, price direction at the moment, which is pretty much consistent with the time of year and holiday season. We refine this down to a daily chart. You can see a little bit more what I'm talking about, especially over the last couple of weeks. So first of all, one thing we can see, this consolidation becomes a little bit clearer. As we mentioned, it's been going on for a few weeks. Price has pretty much been range bound between the lows at like 6,400, 6,500 to the highs around about 7,800 level. Stops to the downside of this range were recently run on the 17th of December, so a couple of weeks ago. We can see that price moved away swiftly from this region the following day, then reached up, didn't really kind of have any sort of meaningful breakout, and now again just kind of consolidated over this last like 10 days, which is pretty much again the Christmas period. In terms of areas for the upside on the BTC USD pair, one thing that stood out was maybe having a clean breakout above this range, which is like a clean breakout above 7,800. So that's to the upside of areas of interest. Conversely, to the downside, probably be looking at a break of this range here, maybe 7,100 and below, and then see how we test this bullish order block candle. The open of this candle is 69.39, high is 69.62. So we'll be looking at that 69.50 level as an area of interest. The mid range of this candle is 67.50. So we're looking at a range of, if price breaks down, see how we react here from 67.50 to 6900. Price moves away sharply, then yeah, we can say this order block's valid. If price breaks through that mean range or the mid range of the candle, which is 67.50, we will be then looking at new lows below 6500 and potentially lower. Just have a quick look on the weekly where this could go to if we break down from there. Yeah, I mean, if this breaks down below 6100, we could be testing anywhere within this region. We can't really define where until we get some sort of movement. So that's the technicals for BTC. In terms of the fundamentals, just to touch on this, as you guys are probably aware, the halving is coming up for BTC in the next couple of months, around about May, June time. So it'll be interesting to see if this has any effect on price movements before or after. So that's the BTC USD pair. Next pair we're going to have a look at is Ethereum USD. Pull this up. Where are we? Ethereum dollar. So on a weekly chart, we can see that Ethereum is in a similar consolidation phase to Bitcoin, but actually seems to be looking a little bit more bearish, looking at the current price action. Just zoom in a bit, we can see that price recently broke these support levels, put in here around about the 150 level. So this was a long-term support from April of last year. So, you know, we're talking a good 7-8 months. Price unfortunately broke through this 150 level in November, dipped all the way down to a low of 119, and pretty much dipped back into the bullish order block level set back in December. So opening this order block will be what, 116. Yep. Low of that candle is 82. So rudimentary maths, 34, so another 18. So the mean of this order block here, this weekly, is around about $100. It ties up here because you can see support around that $100 range. And potentially that's what we'll maybe be looking at if Ethereum continues on the downside or breaks out of this consolidation range. Moving into a daily chart, let's look at this in a bit more detail. So as we mentioned, had a long-term support here around about the 150 level, dating back to last year. As you can see, yeah, 140, 150. So yeah, this level here, we unfortunately broke through in one day. So yeah, kind of mentioned broke down to the downside. Touched new lows here. Did have a similar sort of bounce to Bitcoin, but I don't think it's as visible in terms of breaking new lows, dipping into previous levels, and then bouncing back up. As you can see, we've not really had any sort of sustained movement since then. So yeah, kind of looking a bit more bearish for the Ethereum dollar pair. In terms of areas of interest to the upside, I'd be probably looking at a clean breakout of this range. So we're probably looking at a breakout from, I don't know, 155 to 160 and above. There is a potential to maybe test any potential or previous support here. So maybe we're talking 140 to 145. So just keep an eye out. If price gets to that, we want to see a nice clean breakout. If this support turns back into resistance, you know, it's not looking good for the short term. Conversely, to the downside, probably looking at a break of this previous low, so anything below 120, maybe 115. Let's see how it reacts to that previous order block we mentioned. Could go all the way back down to $100, which is a mean of that order block. Let me pull it up on the weekly and put a price line on here. Wow. Let's zoom in. Where are we? $100. Excuse me, I'm used to using TradingView, so I usually have my all my indicators and lines and everything set up. Where are we? Let's do a clean 100. There we go. So let's just zoom back in onto the daily. Right. So as you can see, here is our $100 level. We can see there is quite a lot of liquidity still outstanding below these stops here and potentially these mega stops that have been pretty much set in since last January and February. So yeah, price does move to the downside. That's potentially the area we'll be looking at, is taking out these stops and then testing that $100 level again. If that breaks, we could be looking at new lows, but I don't think we want to look that too far into the future until we get some sort of movement one way or the other. So the upside would be, as we mentioned, break of 160, downside back to 120 and below, and a test of $100. In terms of fundamentals, there is a network upgrading due for the Ethereum network in the next couple of days. I think it's on the 2nd or 3rd. And in terms of long-term fundamentals, there's a lot of talk around decentralized finance, or DeFi as it's known, particularly when it comes to ETH. So I guess 2020 will be an interesting year to see if this actually has any effect on the supply and the Ethereum price over the next 12 months. So if we go ahead and look at the next pair that we're going to look at today, which is Monero, XMR, USD. Where are we? CoinMarketCap dollar. So yeah, let's have a look. This is pretty much the one chart that stood out to me straight away when I was doing the analysis. Let's pull up a weekly so we've got better reference. So as you can see, compared to the other charts that we've looked at, Monero has a lot better structure in terms of seeing where we're at. Its price has pretty much returned to a previous level, not only set last winter, so last December, but also another level or the similar level where price actually pretty much broke out of on its bull run. That's going all the way back to summer of 2017. Seemed like a long time ago, right? So let's just pull this up and see what's going down. As we can see, Monero's been in a long-term downtrend and one of the few coins to return to the price range, as we mentioned, of winter 2018. Just zooming in a little bit, something that really stood out to me straight away is that price has returned to a long-term weekly order block, a bullish order block at that, which was set in on the 10th of December. It's also slipped below the $50 range, which is an important psychological round number, and pretty much been consolidating here for a couple of weeks, I guess. Kind of had a breakdown here, and now just kind of been in this range. Very interesting area based on this higher time frame and bullish order block confluence. Definitely worth watching over the next few weeks and months to see if price action mimics similar to what it did 12 months ago when it hit this range before. One thing I want to do on this chart is mark out the weekly order block just for reference. So what I always tend to do, mark out the top, put that green so it stands out a little bit, and also look at the midpoint as well. Now, you can usually go from the top of the wick to the body. In this case, there's only a difference of 30 odd cents, so it's negligible. And the mean point of this body would be the opening minus the close. So what is that? $8. So we're looking at around about $43 as a medium price for this order block. So just found yep, seems about right. We'll make it 43 exactly, just so I don't get annoyed. There we go. So we've now refined down into a daily time frame. Can now mark out some, or now we've got the levels marked out, we can now actually have a quick look and see what's going on. So it's funny how these things line up. I mean, just by eye, we can pretty much say that current price is pretty much in the median of this range. We can see that price broke down into this order block on the 25th of November, instantly had some sort of movement away. So the low of this candle is $46 and the high of this was $56. So we had a $10 movement in 3 days. So indicates that, this is a valid order block. There is some sort of reaction here. Unfortunately, price then consolidated and then moved back down into the order block. There wasn't any sustained move up. But this is interesting because now we can see that price has pretty much been consolidating in this order block range, so it's 43 to 48 level ever since the return back. That probably lines up with the fact that we're around this Christmas period, not much trading goes on. But if we take a look back at price action 12 months ago, we can get maybe an insight into what happened before and what should we be looking for moving forward. So this is price action from 12 months ago. Here we are at the 1st of January. As you can see, there was an order block set in. Price then consolidated in this particular range. For several months, we had a few false breakouts, but it kept returning, dipping back in, then a long dip into the order block with accumulation. So 10th of January up until the 8th of February, so pretty much for a month. And then price slowly moved away. We had one last retest of this area, and pretty much we just ran off into the highs of $120 that was set last summer. So we should be looking for something similar. If price is going to repeat itself, we should probably be looking for something similar to happen again, which would probably be range-bound accumulation, move out of the order block, retest a long accumulation period of several weeks or more, and then price movement according to any accumulation. Now, one thing I wanted to touch on was kind of areas we should be looking at for the short term, whether or not this is a valid order block or it's just kind of price action for the time being. On the upside, we'll probably be looking for some sort of strong breakout above these previous highs of 55, and then maybe actually take out this high as well. And then maybe even moving on. We haven't really had a test of any previous highs here. We had one run of the stops here, but apart from that, it's pretty much been down, and then no real kind of price movement to the upside to take out any previous levels. So on the upside, we'll be probably looking at, if price does move away from here, a breakout above $50 here, this last high, another one above 60, so this last high, and then maybe another one above 60 to 68, so maybe breakout above key levels, 50, 60, 70, and kind of see how it goes from there. Now, when it comes to fundamentals, I rarely mention the mining emissions when looking at coins in conjunction with technical analysis. However, I feel in Monero's case, it's probably quite poignant, as mining emissions for this coin are due to tail off in 2022 when all 18.4 million Monero are fully mined. If you have a look at the current supply, I think it's 94% of the current Monero supply has been mined, and the remaining 6% will be mined over the next 2 years, as mentioned. So this is one of the first large cap proof of work coins that is kind of coming to the end of its emissions period. It'll be very interesting to see how price reacts to this over the next 12 months or even a shorter time frame, solely based on the fact that we're now returning to previous accumulation levels when the emissions were a lot higher and the supply was nowhere near its final point. So yeah, just something to bear in mind, I guess, when it comes to Monero. Moving on, the next coin we're going to have a look at, the last but one, is Binance. So Binance coin, let's have a look at the USD pair. As you can see, looking at the weekly chart here, we can see we're in a clear downtrend at the moment. The all-time high, the last high was put in June of last year. So kind of been in a 6-month downtrend since that period. Not surprising, actually, given that its price cycle differs from all other altcoins. You'll see a lot of other altcoins have their high here, whereas with Binance Coin, it had its high, then had another period of kind of consolidation, accumulation, actually made a higher high maybe a year and a half after its previous one. So not a lot of altcoins actually followed this trajectory. As we can see, there's been new lows made over the last couple of months. So in September, we then pushed through them lows. In November, and we then subsequently pushed through those again 2 weeks ago in the middle of December. The most recent lows kind of hitting that $12 region. If you have a quick look at a daily chart, try and mark out some levels, we can see price action a little bit more clearer. As we mentioned, the breakdown of each low, kind of, you can see here, breakdown, consolidation, breakdown of those previous lows, a little consolidation, and then a further breakdown. You guys, anyone's kind of aware of the market maker sell model? Pretty much a perfect market maker sell model in place here. Where are we? Been a while since I've drawn a rectangle. So anyone's aware of a market maker sell model? Pretty much consists of accumulation, reaccumulation, then distribution, or final. One more accumulation, and then we have our distribution phases. So distribution is always going to be lower than the first accumulation levels, which are these, and these. As you can see, started having distribution here, taking out these levels, and then we've had one more, which is pretty much taking out the previous lows here as well. So anyone who's a fan of ICT, classic market maker sell model on this coin, distributing into new lows. If we delete those, just so we can have a look at current areas of interest. In fact, let's leave them on so we can mark them alongside it. So current areas of interest I've got noted down. On the upside includes the previous support and resistance around $15. So a little bit hard to see here. Yep, here we go. So as you can see, support, more support here, more likely than not, this will probably turn into resistance. In fact, it actually did. So we'll probably be looking at this 15 level as a resistance level. If that's to break out, we want to potentially see a breakout or clean breakout above these highs here. So maybe something $16, $17 and above. Then potentially if we're looking for another clean break, we're looking to take out this consolidation zone here. So, you know, potentially a break of $22 to $25, $24, something along those lines. Last thing around BNB, fundamentally there's no news events listed at the moment. However, Binance does remain one of the leading altcoin exchanges going into this new year, new decade. So it'll be very interesting to see if they can continue with their impressive growth that they've displayed since launch and how this is reflected in the BNB price. Okay, so the last coin we're going to have a look at today is for Pirate Chain. We recently did a project review for this coin. Thought it'd be nice to have a look at the chart in a little bit more detail. It's a project that stood out after kind of doing a review and seeing the strong fundamentals. In terms of price, you can see it's already had one previous price cycle. Price consolidated in this range between 2 and 4 cents for like a 6-month period, kind of before breaking out and going for like a potential, you know, more than 10x from its lows. I think the low was 2 cents and the high was 28. So yeah, 14x there. So price has then broken down since its high last summer and now returned to the previous levels of accumulation. Kind of now in a consolidation period, consolidation phase, should I say, price-wise as well, since we've returned here. If we move down into a daily time frame, we can have a look with a bit more detail, but what I've done is mark out the weekly bullish order block before price moved up, just for reference, see where we actually are. So as you can see, price broke down to this range. Let's zoom out a little bit. The price broke down into this range back in September, below 4 cents. Then been in a long consolidation. Actually, price did move away from this range earlier this or last year, so around about 6 weeks ago. We came from a low of 0.17 cents to a high of 0.68. So a potential 4x there for someone, more like a 3x from a, 0.02 cents to a 0.06 cents area. So yeah, it's been interesting to see that prices now returned back to this area. I'm kind of looking at see where potentially price could go to next. On terms of areas for the downside, I would say that if price breaks this 2 cents area, we're going to be looking at new lows below this previous low, so 0.17 cents and below. If price is to break out on the upside, we want to look for a clean breakout, above maybe 4.5 cents, and then maybe if you're being ultra conservative, maybe a breakout above 7 cents, to actually see if it can start retesting some of these old ranges here. One last thing I do want to touch on in terms of volume for this coin. So as you can see in its previous price cycle, volume and price is very organic and moving in sync with each other. Here's your accumulation volume here. It increases as the price is going up. And as price increases, the volume increases because these coins are now being distributed. We actually have two peaks in volume, which is its two highs here and here. So as you can see, in terms of the volume in this particular price cycle, it just seems to be a bit skewed in comparison. So we can see, small volume accumulation period here makes sense. Didn't have much volume on this breakout in terms of price movement up and volume corresponding with that. But since the 27th or 28th of November, volume just seems to have increased dramatically to the point of it looks like a volumizer is being used on this. So just a point of reference, if people are using technical analysis for Pirate Chain, the volume represented on the chart may not be accurate of what the actual liquidity and trading volume is taking place on exchanges for actual users. But having said that, this is definitely an area of interest for the coin between 2 and 4 cents. We noted that there's more exchanges adding Pirate Chain, adding more liquidity. So potentially, as a low market cap coin, this is definitely one to keep an eye out over the next couple of weeks. So finally, that kind of wraps up the first market review of 2020. Thanks everyone for watching the video. Let's look forward to the new year ahead coming for crypto and the blockchain industry. In terms of these reviews, we're going to be doing a market review every Wednesday around about 8 p.m. So if you're interested in the altcoins that you'd like charting for next week's show, please hit us up in the comments below. As always, if you like the show, please hit the like, subscribe, share button, all of that. And then you can always check out our channel for more crypto-related content. Thank you very much